What's good, everyone? It's Divine Sense Boxing back in the building. Good to be with you guys, and thanks for dropping by. It's time for another fight breakdown / prediction. Another massive fight on the horizon, June 5th. It's about to go down. Another undisputed matchup, another fight for history. I know everybody's excited just as much as I am. Maybe you're a Haney fan. Maybe you're a Kambosos fan. Whatever the case may be, we're going to talk about it in this video. We're going to break it down, and also I'm going to leave you guys with my final prediction. If you're new to the channel, like I said, welcome. Click that subscribe button so you can stay a part of this conversation. I will go live when the fight happens to commentate the fight round by round, punch by punch, and let you guys know what my scorecards will be. If it indeed does go 12 rounds, we will see. Now, what I normally do is I break down the fighters a little bit, and then I go into my prediction. And before I get into each fighter and how I look at their styles, first, let's do a quick tail to tape for those people who may be unaware or just to refresh your memory. Kambosos coming in with majority of the belts in this fight. He is 20-0. And of those 20 fights, he's got 10 knockouts. So sitting right at about 50% KO ratio. He is 5'9.5" with a 68-inch reach. And of course, we got Devin, the Dream, Haney. He's coming in with 27-0 and about 15 KO. So his knockout percentage is slightly better. I would probably put it about 52, 53%, slightly better. He's a little bit shorter than Kambosos at 5'8", but he does have a longer reach. So he's got a 71-inch reach, so he will have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. Will it make a difference? We shall see. Now, let me talk first about the man who has majority of the belts, and that is George Kambosos Jr. Obviously, we know that he's the guy that came in and shocked the world by beating Teofimo Lopez. I commentated that fight live. I talked a lot about that fight, and I had to eat crow. I had to eat my words. I thought that Teofimo was going to stop George late, and George surprised me. I think he surprised a lot of people. As a matter of fact, I don't even think a lot of people knew who he was. But he made a name for himself. He put himself on the map, and he went in there, and he impressed me on a lot of different avenues. You know, he displayed a lot of grit, a lot of determination, a lot of heart, but he also displayed some boxing skill. I mean, he's not absent skill, and we're going to talk about this. You know, one thing that stands out to me, especially in the Teofimo Lopez fight, is his ability to go into later rounds, be hurt. He was even dropped, I believe, in the 10th round of that fight, even though he won majority of those middle rounds. By getting dropped in that 10th round, kind of pushed the scorecards around a little bit because that's a 10-8 round, obviously. But he was able to jump back up, get into the 11th round, and dominate that round. And, of course, I believe I gave him the 12th round as well. So he closed the show. So he shows that he has the endurance, he has the stamina, and he has the heart to get hurt and push through a fight. And I think that will matter when it comes to this fight as well, when the spotlight is on him in his hometown. He's trying to put Australia on his back and represent, obviously, himself and becoming undisputed, but also his country, right? He's doing it in his backyard. So I'm confident that if it goes sideways for him, he will fight until the bitter end. Now, one of his favorite punches is obviously that looping right hand, right? He likes to duck underneath and loop it around and try to connect it if he can. But a lot of people don't talk about his left hook ability. You know, he was trying to time that against Teofimo quite a lot. Every time Teofimo would overcommit, he'd try to step back and throw that left hook in there, and then, of course, follow up with the right hand. He did put in some body work in that Teofimo Lopez fight, but what people have to understand is Teofimo Lopez is not Devin Haney. Two completely different fighters, two completely different styles, and that's what we have to magnify here, right? We cannot get fixated on the brilliant victory of, Kambosos beating Teofimo Lopez. So I think that Kambosos, if I had to put it in certain categories, I would say Kambosos, from what I can see, it might have the slight edge when it comes to grit and durability. But it's tough to give him that edge because Devin Haney also has shown a lot of durability and grit. You know, in his fight against Jojo Diaz was able to get off some punches and rock Devin a little bit, maybe even buzzed him. And quite frankly, he ate those punches and fired back. And you can argue that even though he took some flush punches, he ended up winning those rounds because he just outworked Jojo Diaz anyways. So they both have shown a lot of grit and determination, and that's what makes this fight so interesting and compelling, right? Now, George is the unpredictable one, in my opinion, in this fight. Is he going to be the ferocious George Kambosos? Is he going to come forward? Is he going to attack Devin Haney? Or is he going to be more on the back foot and let Devin Haney come to him? If you go back and watch that Teofimo Lopez fight, he was on the back foot, and he was waiting for the counter, right? He was trying to time Teofimo and try to put that left hook in there and that right hand. Now, if you guys have noticed, I've pretty much only mentioned a couple punches for George Kambosos, that left hook and right hand. He does use the jab, but he doesn't have many other weapons in his arsenal, in my opinion, other than the foundation punch of boxing was the jab. He likes to move it up and down, and it's the left hook and right hand for him. He doesn't like to mix it up, in my opinion, and be able to put combinations together as well as Devin Haney can. That is my opinion watching the film studies, and I feel like he likes to sit down on a right hand or sit down on a left hand. He likes to try and counter and try to catch you off guard. And, and when he's working the jab, but more or less he's looking to sit down and throw big right hands and step back check left hooks. That is George Kambosos. Now, sure, if it is a firefight and they go toe-to-toe, sure, he'll unleash some combinations and try to, get what he can get. He's built that way, but it's not his, full-on formula, right? He's not that type of fighter who's going to go in there and throw a bunch of punches and try to stop you, like Pitbull Cruz, for example, a guy who's going to jump all over you like he did against Tank Davis. I don't think we're going to see that. So if I were to predict what George is going to do, I think he's going to jump all over Devin early. I don't know why I have that feeling. I think that he doesn't respect Devin Haney very much. I feel like he feels like he's the best. He feels like Devin Haney's not as dangerous as Teofimo is, and he's not going to respect his punching power, and he's planning to go in there and put pressure on Devin Haney and work that jab, try to get that right hand in. And if Devin Haney tries to, avoid that right hand and overcommit and counter, George thinks he's going to be able to stick that left hook in there. So that's what I think, you know what I mean? But it's going to be interesting because I also think that there's a very high possibility that even Devin himself is going to be the one who's going to step to him early. So we might have a little bit of a Clash of the Titans situation here. Now, one thing I want to point out, I'm going to shift a little bit to Devin Haney now. Devin Haney, if you go back and watch his fights, what makes him interesting and a very talented fighter is his wide base of a stance in boxing, his pivoting ability, his ability to duck underneath big looping shots, having a nice shoulder roll, having very good defense. And when he does get caught, he has shown in his 27 fights, right, to be able to take a punch. And some of you guys may say, oh, well, he's never fought a caliber fighter like George Kambosos. Or a puncher. Well, quite frankly, George Kambosos has a 50% KO ratio. It's not like he's the biggest puncher in the division. If we were talking about Teofimo Lopez, it would be a different conversation, right? So I think that Devin Haney has proven that he can take a punch against fighters who actually has a higher KO ratio than George Kambosos does. So his defense is sound, and if he does happen to get clipped, he has shown that he can take it. Now, back to that wide base. Having that wide base gives you the ability to, like I said, to offset your opponent, force them to reset because you can pivot. You can have that power coming from that back foot because you have that big wide base. And he has the reach advantage. Now, in a lot of his fights, he's always had the reach advantage at this weight class. He's got really long arms at 71 inches, so he's able to pull out with that jab and stick that jab in there. And because he has longer arms, when they try to counter, he's able to pull back quite easily and get a right uppercut in, straight right hand down the pipe, pivot out on the left hook, throw a 1-2, and he can keep that type of movement going for the entirety of the fight. Now the question is, if he's able to emphasize that length and that range and that timing, eventually he will get comfortable. And if he gets too comfortable, then the combinations, in my opinion, will start to pile on, and he will continue to just put more and more punches on George Kambosos. George Kambosos' defense is moderate to okay. It's not the best in the division. It's not eye-popping defense where he's able to slip and duck underneath and counter beautifully. You know, he mixes it up between a high guard and a little bit of a shoulder roll. But Devin Haney has shown to be extremely precise. Even in a high guard shoulder roll position, he can find the openings and put leather on you. No, they're not devastating punches. Devin Haney is not a devastating puncher either, but it's scoring points, right? If you become too defensive, you can't let your hands go, and he's setting his feet and pivoting and moving around you and hitting you with shots, he's going to be winning those rounds. Ultimately, this is a style matchup that, as I said, is very compelling, very interesting, and we just don't know what's going to happen. It's a tough situation to put any type of money on because, you know, they are fighting in Australia. There is a situation where if it is a close fight, that George Kambosos, being the champion, being in his backyard, will get the nod, right, if this goes 12. So in my opinion, for Devin Haney to win this fight by decision, if he's not able to knock him out or get some type of stoppage, he has to put on a brilliant performance. He has to be able to put at least minimum 7 to 8 rounds in the bank to feel confident that if it goes to the scorecards, he will be able to have his hand raised and become the new undisputed lightweight champion of the world. If not, if Kambosos is able to put in 4 to 5 rounds and look good and win those rounds convincingly, you know, I just think if it goes 12, that George Kambosos will get the nod. That is my opinion. Now, as far as my official prediction, I've heard all kinds of different predictions in this fight. George Kambosos fans thinks that, you know, he's gonna wipe the floor with Devin Haney. I've heard all different kinds of knockout predictions, but I've also heard knockout predictions for Devin Haney fans. For me personally, I think this is a 12-round fight. I honestly think it's a 12-round fight, and it really comes down to what I just stated a few seconds ago. Can Devin Haney make it convincing? And if he can, I think this is, or it should be, a comfortable 12-round decision for Devin Haney, an 8-4 round type situation, possibly 9 rounds to 3, with a couple of rounds in there where Kambosos makes it interesting, maybe buzzes Devin Haney a few times, shows grit late to try to dig deep and try to win a round or get a knockdown to try and sway the fight back in his direction. But if I were to make an official prediction, I got Devin Haney by a 12-round decision comfortably, at least on my scorecards. I don't know how they're going to score it in Australia, but in my mind, I think that Devin Haney will have a little bit of trouble here and there. I mean, he is in someone else's backyard. He'll be fighting in a very hostile environment. It's going to be a new kind of situation for him, but I feel like he's built for this. I feel like his dad and people around him from a very young age has prepared him for this. It might take him 2 or 3 rounds, but he'll get comfortable, and he'll time George, and he'll do what he does. But I do see George having bright spots in this fight. I don't think that George will get completely embarrassed or anything like that. I think that he will show the world that Devin Haney's, you know, slightly better than me, but I'm still a threat in the division, and I'll still be back to contend for titles once again. So that's my official prediction. That's my breakdown of the fight. Like I said, I'm excited beyond belief. Can't wait to commentate on this fight. So make sure that you schedule it in. Make sure you make a mental note. Divine Sense, commentating live. Be a part of it. We're going to score the fight. We're going to, get excited about it. If you've ever been a part of any of my live streams before when I commentate fights, man, it's what I do. It's what I'm most known for, is commentating on fights, making it exciting, especially for those who are not able to watch the fight live, or you're on the go and you need to hear some type of audio to keep you engaged in the fight, make sure you tune into Divine Sense Boxing, man. So like I said, if you're new, subscribe, stay a part of the conversation. And of course, don't forget to hit that like button. It's your boy Divine Sense Boxing. Thanks for dropping by. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Y'all stay up, stay strong, stay positive. I'm out. Peace.